Hi, everybody. This is Carlos Maya, and today I will be talking to you or sharing with you some information related to cross-linguistic transfer in reading. So it's important to understand that L2 reading is considered a cross-linguistic process because it combines L2 and L1 reading resources into a dual language processing system. So we need to understand that the second language learners learn to read in a second language when they have already be in touch with a first language and they have already read before. So that's why we can say that reading, the L2 reading is a case of learning to read with a language. It's not learning, it's not developing the reading, the skill or the reading skill. It's using this skill but when you are learning a language. So in this case, CODA 2007 says that the transfer competencies will continue to mature through experience with L2 print input. So the students normally take or transfer the experience they have from the L1 to the L2. However, we need to understand that there are some linguistic and processing difference in L1 and L2 reading. And we can say that the L2 reading is influenced by the linguistic resources and knowledge from the learners the learners L1. So the first language is going to provide the second language with some linguistic resources because the student, when the L2 learners start to read, they already bring a wide experience with languages. So it's something very different when they are learning to read in the first language, because in the first language, when they start to read, they already have a very wide vocabulary. However, when they are learning they are reading the second language, there is a poor vocabulary. We also can say that the students normally vary considerably in their L2 lexical, grammatical, and discourse knowledge. So that's one of the big differences they can have when they are learning to read in a second language. And also that the L2 readers often have a poor vocabulary, as I already said. So if we make comparison between what a L1 student have when they start to read, we can say that the students already speak the language, sometimes they write the language, and then it's when they start reading. However, when you read in a second language, you are learning many structures. You are paying attention to many things, to the vocabulary and new words. I also can say that L2 readers struggle with the structures of sentence and how words are ordered, what makes more difficult to understand the text. So if we pay attention to this part, we can also say that L1 and L2 differ in phonology, orthography, morphology, grammar, and in specific areas of lexical density, areas of partial lexical overlap, idiomatic and metaphoric uses of language, and discourse, organization, practice, and principle. So this is why we can say that the L2 has a lot of difference in relation to the L1. It is also important to say that in the L2, the students normally struggle with understanding cohesive devices such as pronouns and connective. So sometimes if we see when we are reading a second language, there are some pronouns that we don't understand what they are making references to, or maybe they are using, the text is using a connective that we don't know why that connective is in that specific text. L2 readers may also struggle by recognizing words, okay? Due to the unknown vocabulary and orthography, the students normally start confusing what they are reading. And this difficulty occurs because they are not able to recognize and decode words. It could be because of the vocabulary, it could be because of the word order, it could be because of the structure. And this normally impact the fluency of the students, making it more difficult for reader to read smoothly and in a natural pace or in a natural form. So L2 readers struggle to construct a coherent mental representation of the text due to the challenges they can face when they are reading the text. We also can say that linguistic contextual and background knowledge is present in the L2 reading. The L2 reading is influenced by the linguistic resources and knowledge from the L1, and all these facilitate the L2 reading. However, it's considered also that sometimes the L1 interferes with the L2 reading. L1 and L2 differ in many things, and this is important to mention that, or to say that there are some aspects that help the L2 reader, and those aspects are the awareness of the recognizing the word order. We have to know that if they try to look for similar determiners and systems. For example, when we say that the student when the student is learning, they normally try to be aware of many cognates across the two languages. So the cognate words used are helpful when we are reading in a second language. They also try to look for the parallel grammatical word order. So the word order is really important. They try to see if the subject, the verb is in the same order so that they can understand what they are reading. Also, the occurrence of a similar determiner system. So this determiner system, such as pronouns, possessive adjectives, are really useful for the student when they are trying to understand a text in a second language. Also, they try to understand or to establish conceptual similarities for time and space references. This is because of the adverb, the verbal tenses. So they try to look for the comfortable moment to understand by using these time and space references. The L2 reader work with the resources of two languages, as I already say, and this is the connect words, which are so helpful for the students when they are reading, because they, without knowing the meaning of the word, they try to feel comfortable when they are reading, because they make the comparison between what they have in the second language and what they have in the first language. But there is a very common strategy that normally L2 readers use, and this is the switching from the L2 to from the L1 to the L2 and back again. And this happens when they are reading challenging text. So this is a common strategy they use. Also, they have or they bring some social linguistic, they already use some metalinguistic processing, okay? Because as they already have experience with a language, they already feel aware of how language system work. They know that they are reading with a language. And also, the L2 reader brings social linguistic experience, and they are able to understand how language varies. This social linguistic knowledge is part of the linguistic resources that they can take from the L1 to the L2. Well, this is my all my presentation, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you, and this is the reference I used.